say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we rulers fight? O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming.
Christopher Nolan is a master of storytelling when it comes to playing with the narrative structure and cross-cutting between multiple scenes running together. While his movie, like every other movie, has a limited screen time, we as the audience never actually feel the same. The movie, in fact, stretches indefinitely beyond the ending shot, and that is the reason which probably makes us sit through the end credits, because we simply are not able to get out of the world he creates. Once the main story ends, that is, when the protagonist's motives are accomplished or the conflict created by the antagonist is put to an end, Nolan decides to continue the story with a beautiful epilogue. He compiles a symphony of shots or ends the movie after a long montage. Let's see how Christopher Nolan does it using 4 elements. The first is cross-cutting between multiple scenes. This is the classic signature filmmaking style of Nolan seen in every movie of his. But what makes this cross-cutting different is that the shots are musical. Multiple shots from different locations or even different times are edited to form a synchronizing story together. The best example would be The Dark Knight. The montage starts immediately after Harvey Dent is dead, and we see what would happen in the sequel. Incidentally, the epilogue in this movie becomes the prologue of the next movie. This montage simultaneously portrays stories from 5 locations with a maximum of 4 to 5 shots from each of them. The shots are then distributed evenly throughout its duration so that we are able to focus on all the events going on. The second is pacing. As a result of putting multiple shots together, it is indeed necessary to bring visual consistency. For that to happen, Nolan keeps the pacing even and consistent in almost all the shots of the montage. In most of the shots, the camera is in motion and rarely static, making the montage symphonic. But because it's an epilogue and not the primary conflict of the film, the editing doesn't need to be contrasting in terms of their pace. Let's take the scene from Inception. Once Cobb wakes up from the dream and starts to realize the objective he has just accomplished, the camera movement becomes smooth and dynamic. Even the possible situation with the customs is shown with lesser camera movement compared to others. In order to compensate for these, some of the shots which include drastic action like lifting a bag and moving, or the kids looking at Cobb on hearing his voice, are slowed down. This way the pacing is balanced and the montage becomes visually satisfying. The third is music. For most of the montages, Christopher Nolan uses different music tracks to portray the location and time-oriented scenes. For example, in The Dark Knight's famous Harvey's ambush scene, it starts with the Joker's theme for a while.
What the hell is that?
But as the Batman intervenes and temporarily neutralizes Joker's goons, there is no music. But with Batman dumping his Batmobile and emerging with the Batpod, Batman's theme comes on.
Goodbye.
This change in music for some reason does not sit with the ending montages of the Nolan universe, because ultimately the pacing needs to be consistent and the music plays a key role in making that happen. So may it be Interstellar, The Dark Knight or Inception, only a single track is used in each of these. The fourth is voiceovers. Some of Nolan's major montages includes voiceovers as well. This creates an effect of poetry in the scene along with the evenly paced shots. The voiceovers are not exactly someone's narration like Martin Scorsese does in his movies.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Here, the scene with the conversation just before the start of the montage is edited off, with just the conversation being used for the later sequences. Consider Interstellar for example. While Cooper is talking to an old Murph on her deathbed, the montage starts after this. Immediately there is a jump cut, and following 2 shots, we cut back and forth between Cooper and Brand in different shots but with the same pacing. Another prime example is The Prestige. Now here the shots can be classified into 2. 1. The conversation between Angier and Borden, and 2. The segments from the lives of Borden and Fallon. The former is used as voiceovers in this scene, while the latter is used for visual references. Christopher Nolan's storytelling is always unique when he experiments with the elements of time and location. The possibilities become infinite, but the cost of making these choices can be humongous in terms of creating a visual confusion among the audience, eventually failing to tell the story you actually wanted to. But what every movie requires is planning even the tiniest of things carefully while exploring new techniques so that the storytelling becomes both different and understandable.